Welcome to We Are Soccer. Today, we're talking to a licensed FIFA agent. We've got Mario Iveljic with us. Listen, a licensed FIFA agent, a registered Football Association agent in England, and a registered intermediary here in the USA, and an attorney at law. So a little bit of everything. Lots of questions to dig into. But first, Mario, welcome to We Are Soccer.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I get asked all the time, about agents, what they do, especially here in America. It ranges from MLS players all the way down to USL championship players to college players looking for agents. Give us a little bit of a brief description about yourself, your agency, and then maybe some of the players you have and how you got them, how to find an agent.
Yeah, so I mean, myself personally, I played soccer my whole life. My father played professionally in Europe before coming to the States in the 1970s, so it's kind of in our blood. I played club in Chicago, played 4 years at Yale University, came back to Chicago, played like semi-pro level. My last competitive game was we won the U.S. Amateur Cup in 2011.
Hey,
Uh,
look at you. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I played, and during that time I was, I got my law degree. I was still practicing law, and yeah, 2011, my first child was on the way, so just kind of shut it down.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so being a lawyer since 2003, mainly doing contract work. I got involved in the agency side over 2 years ago. Started Magmile Sport with two business partners of mine. We have a good young group of clients. Chris Brady, the Fire, Ian Frey, Inter Miami, Gio Villa, who was actually our first signing. He's just turned 16, but he signed his professional deal with the Real Monarchs very recently. So we have clients across MLS Next Pro, USL Championship, some USL One, and a couple guys right now on trial in Europe, actually.
Very nice, man. You got quite a breadth of players there. So what is it like dealing with clubs as an agent for a player? Obviously, you're looking to get the most for your player. You're looking for the best deal. What's it like dealing with a club, an MLS club, let's say, when you have to go in there and negotiate on behalf of your player?
Yeah, I think from my experience as an attorney for a long time, it's just part of the business. It's never personal; it's always professional. You want to advocate for your client's best interests. The club wants to do and protect itself the most they can. So you're looking just really to strike a common ground in the end, something that will make the club happy, make your client happy, and eventually, get your client playing with the club where it's a good fit. He's getting minutes and he's happy, right? That's the
Yeah.
whole goal.
The common misconception with agents these days, and we see it a lot, is in the summer, especially in Europe, right? That why is a player looking to move? Who is the player seems happy at a club? Why is he looking to move? He doesn't really need more money. Is it the agent? I mean, you always hear this thing, the agent must be pushing it. The agent must be pushing to get more money so he can get more money. Does that bother you when you hear things like that? Because I don't know. I feel that that's not 100% true, and it's just kind of an excuse that people are putting out there.
Yeah, I feel like in every industry, you're going to have, really good professionals, really, mediocre ones at best, no matter if you're an agent, lawyer, teacher, whatever it might be, right? So, I think kind of collectively blaming the agents is really maybe not the best, thing to do. Not to say that some agents don't push deals for their own personal gain, maybe. But, for a player, there could be a variety of reasons why they would want to move. It could be lack of playing time. It could be, they see the writing on the wall with guys behind them coming up through the ranks. It could be a money thing. It could be just not being happy where they are, especially if you're in a foreign country and you're not comfortable. So, it just depends on the player, the situation, and it really shouldn't be what the agent wants, it's what the player wants eventually.
Absolutely. How often do you talk to your agents, the players, excuse me, your clients, the players? How often do you touch base with them throughout the season?
It depends. Usually when we first sign a player, I give them kind of the same general spiel. I say, hey, listen, like I will be as active as you want me to. Whether that you want me to text every week, you want to have a phone call every week, you want to touch base every month. Every player is a little bit different, right? So I just want to make sure that they know that, we're here,
Right.
and we'll be happy to, speak to them as often as they like. Obviously, if there's an issue, let me know right away so we can deal with it. But otherwise, some players want to talk more than others, and some players don't want to be bothered. So we'll kind of let them make the call and tell us what they prefer.
Right. One of the clients you've mentioned, and we interviewed last week, Chris Brady, the Chicago Fire, starting goalkeeper for the Chicago Fire, 19 years old, well on his way to
Yeah.
just such a super career you can see ahead of him, because the kid has his feet on the ground, and he believes in hard work. That right there has to be, I got to be honest, that's got to be awesome to be able to represent someone like that, who's a great young talent, and I mean, just the sky's the limit for where he can go.
Yeah, it's amazing. When you speak to him, you deal with him, you don't really know he's 19. He comes off like an adult, speaks like an adult. He's got a great head on his shoulders, and I think that's a big part of why he's doing so well. It's the mentality that he has. He's willing to put in the work, and gets his head down and just does it, right? So yeah, very very good signing for our agency. Great kid, and we're so excited for his future to see where it leads.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, after interviewing him, or during the interview, there's one question I asked that he answered, and I said, all right, I can tell I'm dealing with someone younger here. I asked him what his pregame music was. And he named off 4 or 5. I don't even know if they're bands or artists. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. I tried to act cool. I had no idea who he was talking about, but
I
yeah,
think I had the same reaction when I heard it too. I don't know. Yeah, no idea.
yeah, but a great kid, and I can't wait to see where he ends up, because let's be honest, he's 19. He's made it as a starting goalkeeper in the MLS. The keeper ahead of him last year, Gaga Salina, he went to Europe and is doing well over there. So Chris has a real bright future. He could be headed over to Europe. Is that something that excites you? And do you keep track of all the games that these your clients play in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Weekends are frequently on Apple TV, looking to see what our guys are doing. MLS Next Pro, we're keeping tabs. We're speaking to our guys after the weekend just to see, hey, how'd it go? Any news. But yeah, we always want to keep tabs on what our guys are doing and make sure they're doing all right, right?
Is it different dealing with the MLS than it is dealing with clubs in Europe? Obviously, the MLS is a franchise, and all the contracts are through the league, whereas in Europe, the contracts and everything are through each club, each individual club. Is it a little bit different dealing with MLS because it is that set up that way?
Yeah, definitely. It's a much more kind of centralized process. Documents are all fairly standard. You go to Europe, and every country's a little bit different. Every team's a little bit different. There's obviously, different rules, regulations, laws, different countries. So you're not really sure what you're getting yourself into. Language barriers, all of that kind of plays a part in the negotiations and how you deal with these other clubs.
All right, I got to ask. I got one kind of weird question. So there was a player, an MLS player, who was looking to move to England. And I think he was going to Blackburn. The deal was finalized. The MLS and the MLS League and Blackburn, the club in England in the championship, had negotiated a deal. Everything handshaken. He did the medical, and apparently, when Blackburn were doing the paperwork online, they hit save instead of send. So it never went through, and the deal never happened. Any weird stories, anything like that happen with you guys, where you're like, the club all of a sudden just fell through at the end, and you're like, what were you guys thinking? What were you guys doing?
Yeah, thankfully nothing like that. Nothing like that. I feel bad. That was Duncan McGuire,
That's it.
the kid from Creighton. Yeah, definitely. Felt bad for him, knowing what happened. Fortunately, nothing has happened to our players like that yet. But you never know what could happen in the future.
Does it get very pressured and time sensitive when you get down to the crunch there, because these windows close at certain times, right? And then the leagues and the clubs aren't allowed to do much after that. FIFA as well, right? They won't allow transfers and registrations. Does it get pretty intense down to the wire when you're dealing with transfers and clubs and leagues like that?
Yeah, it's you definitely have that window that expires at a certain day and time for each different country, right? So it's tough, those last few hours you're trying to get deals across the line. Sometimes clubs don't even make their move until late on in the transfer window. So you're really under the gun to get all the details finalized, the documents signed, and so forth. So yeah, those transfer windows can be very busy for us. We'll put it that way.
I'm sure you got to clear out the calendar for the next couple of days because that window's closing. You got to make sure you're available, I'm sure, right? So
100%.
I mean, that's the fun part, right? We've all seen that the BBC and Sky Sports where they're out there the last couple of minutes of the window, they're out at the big clubs and they're talking about players coming across and they're showing up for the medicals, and it's a big pressure cooker, the whole situation, because there's, as we all know, hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of pounds involved with these transfers.
Yeah, yeah, and you're dealing with clubs that have a need for a player, and players that have a need maybe to move. So not just the money, just the pressure that's involved in getting these deals done to help both sides out. It's yeah, nerve-wracking process sometimes.
Do you pay attention to a lot of the other contracts that are signed throughout we'll say, let's just deal with America, right? Throughout MLS and USL and USL Championship. Do you pay attention to a lot of those that are signed so that you can put your players in the best situation? Is that like when there's a contract signed and a big player moves, do you take note of it and
Yeah.
kind of register it within your system?
Yeah, I mean, we have certain players, certain ages, positions. So, we're always looking to see kind of where they may fit compensation wise with other comparable players in the league,
Hmm.
especially when it's contract time, because
Yeah.
you want to, talk to a club and give them a good comp. This is where we believe he should be based on these other 3 or 4 players. So yeah, we definitely keep tabs, and just for our own kind of informational purposes. So when the time is right, we can negotiate in good faith with some backing to what we're saying.
Makes sense. I'm always very interested when someone signs a 4-year deal and after 2 years, the club's offering them another deal because they've been playing so well, or they get down to in that 18-month window type thing. That's got to be something very nice for the player and the agency that's representing them. All of a sudden, the club says, the last 24, 36 months, you've been playing super well. We don't want to let this thing end, and we don't want people coming in here. So we've got some improved, an improved offer for you.
Yeah, definitely. When the club recognizes good play and that you're a good representative of the club, both on the field, off the field, and they're willing to increase what they're paying you. Yeah, definitely a good feeling to have. Your players done well, right, both on and off the pitch, because it's not only on the pitch, but it's how they represent. They're club players, right? So they want to be a good club ambassador, and it's always nice when that's recognized by the club.
Do you pay attention to a lot of the social media stuff that your clients are, how they're representing themselves out there? Do you give them advice a little bit here and there, like, hey, let's not post anything like that, or hey, you may want to post something. Do you guys pay attention to that?
A little bit, yeah. I think with our clientele, actually, our guys aren't the biggest social media guys. So, in a sense, we don't have really much to tell them.
Mhm.
But yeah, we definitely monitor it just to make sure, that there's nothing crazy weird going on. But our guys are pretty chill. They'll post, they'll like, they'll
Yeah.
give thumbs up, whatever it is, and that's perfectly fine with us.
Nice. I like that. All right. So let's say there's a young kid out there, let's say the age of 12 and 13, and he or she is doing very well, getting a little bit of notoriety and thinking that, hey, either college is the next step or maybe even going pro. We've seen an influx in the last couple of years of young ladies going to NWSL at 15 and 16. We've seen a couple of young men get to USL Championship and USL 1 and 2 at 15 and 16 and 17. If they're looking for an agent to represent them, how do they go about looking for that and not getting just not getting suckered in by some of the agents that we know are out there that are just out for themselves? How do they find someone like yourself who can represent them in the best way possible?
Yeah, good question. I mean, a lot of it is word of mouth. Talk to your club, coaches, directors, see kind of if they have any recommendations, other players that maybe they know. Um, Google searches out there. I mean, a lot of the big ones are fairly well known. Looking to see who's in the area. A lot of agents, like what we do in Chicago, we're frequently at the Chicago Fire Academy games. Um, FC United, another MLS Next club in Chicago, Soccer's FC, another MLS club in Chicago. Like I'm frequently around.
Mhm.
So hopefully people recognize that and then they might think, oh, we need to talk to an agent. Mario's here. The thing that American parents must also remember, and I get a lot of calls and emails about this, is that you need to be very careful with agents so that you don't lose your college eligibility to play soccer. Once you make an agreement with an agent, you're technically no longer an amateur and you cannot play college soccer. So that's the one thing. It's the question I get the most out of the blue from parents is about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing, right? Because I think back when you and I were playing, that was always the goal. There was no real professional soccer for us to look forward to, but before college, it was college. That was the goal, right? You played at
Yep.
Yale. I played at Michigan State. That was always the thing. Go play college, get that degree. And then after that, who knows? Maybe you can go pro. But nowadays, professional soccer at a younger age is a bigger thing. But kids and parents don't really realize that you step foot into that world, that eligibility disappears. And
Yep.
that's not a good thing. So that's something you have to educate those parents and players on pretty frequently, huh?
I do, and with every academy player that we talk to, and with their parents especially, we make it a point to say, listen, just so we can't agree to anything because if we do, it'll forfeit your eligibility for college, and it's up to them.
Right.
If they're ultimately willing to make that decision, great. If not, we totally understand. I think a lot of the agents in Europe maybe don't understand the NCAA rules, so they maybe don't talk about it with these kids as much. But for us, and being a former college soccer player and loving the experience I had when I played, I don't want to take that away from somebody by getting them to sign into my agency contract. It's not fair to them. It's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, I absolutely love that answer. You're right, and it's not fair to the kid, but you're looking out for their best interest. And in the end, if you treat them well, they'll probably stick around and be a great client. Um, Gone are the days, it seems, where players are representing themselves. Do you see that happening very often anymore? Are those days are gone where you don't have those players representing themselves with their dad who's just or a friend or something like that? These days, all players are pretty much they need an agent to get the best and get the most out of it, right?
Yeah, I don't know many players at all that go at it alone. I think I've heard of some of the younger guys that maybe with their parents they'll try,
Hmm.
and they'll use agents for like information without formally signing with an agency. But at the end of the day, there's just too much on the line. There's too much information and things that the average parent wouldn't know.
Right.
Where you need to have somebody looking out for your interests, and I think it's important that they understand that.
Yeah, I know. I 100%. I get it. I hope a lot of players out there who are thinking about going pro understand it. You need someone on your side who knows what they're doing and deals with this stuff day in and day out because if you're not, the club or a league will eat you alive.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, listen, Mario, we could talk all day long. I'm so fascinated by this, but my last question is, do you have any opportunities for a 43-year-old player whose knees are kind of gone? If you do, let me know. I'm available.
I'll see what I can do. I can't promise you anything, but I'll put some flyers out there, and we can negotiate the agent fee after we figure out if there's anything in there for you.
That's awesome. I'm just looking to play at the top level, and a bag of chips of payment would be good. Anything at this point. Man, I appreciate you spending the time with us, Mario. It's been really awesome to talk to you and find out some of the answers here. what I'd love to do is check back in a couple of months and say, hey, we got some more answers, because I know people are going to want to they have other questions, they got other things they want to talk about. So let's plan to do a check in the next couple of months and see where things are at.
Absolutely, we'll do.
All right, man. Thank you again.
All right,
Appreciate it.
all right. Thank you. Have a good one.